7:32 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Kamala doing her media blitz to try to whip up the young folks that she needs to turn out. People that find Stephen Colbert funny and Howard Stern still a maverick. I don't know who does, but apparently there are some. And, of course, the ladies on The View as thoughtful. The operative question that was asked, she had two bites at it, one on The View and once with Colbert. Since we're turning the page, so you say, what would you do differently?
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Wait, I thought she was separate from Joe Biden 2 weeks ago. Now she's with Joe Biden. And I would think maybe the withdrawal from Afghanistan might want to rethink.
She was given a second chance, as I mentioned, this time with Stephen Colbert. I don't know. I don't know why he pressed her with this gotcha question after she struggled with it on The View. It's not very nice of him.
You are a member of the President administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of...
Yes.
But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people, and I believe in our country.
I love Lamb.
I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations, we have dreams, we have incredible work ethic, and I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity, and in that way grow the strength of our nation.
A what now?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what was said. I sort of
I went to my happy place.
Lost consciousness briefly. There's no way that comes across as earnest to Midwesterners with a functioning BS detector, is there? Including north of the Cheddar Curtain there in the cheese state. To help us with that question and talk a little bit about his candidacy, slightly down ballot from Trump-Harris, Eric Hovde. He's the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in Wisconsin. Eric Hovde, HOVDE.com, EricHovde.com. Eric, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great being on your show this morning.
All right. So, I mean, it seems like the job that you have is not dissimilar to the job that President Trump has, which is to stand back and get your opponent talking and hope that people's, as I said, BS detectors go off where appropriate.
100%. The problem that I have is Tammy Baldwin won't even go out and talk to the press, won't do almost anything. I'm only getting one debate at the end of the election process. I mean, this woman literally, like Kamala Harris, can't answer any hard questions because her whole record has been one of failure. And by the way, what you were asking, from a good Midwesterner, the BS detector, I mean, talk about a word salad that doesn't answer any of the questions. It's incredible. But, Senator Baldwin, she gets all this money from special interest groups. She claims that she's ran against Wall Street, against wealth inequality, and that the wealthy need to pay their fair share. And yet she pretty much lives in New York with a Wall Street executive who designs tax schemes for the uber wealthy and invests in biotech and pharma industries, which Tammy oversees. So she doesn't want to answer those questions. She doesn't want to answer for all her votes to igniting inflation. She doesn't want to answer for saying, we spend too much on the border and, helping Joe Biden and Kamala Harris open the southern border and the crises that have come with it, the crime issues, the fentanyl crisis, the humanitarian crisis they've created. They can't even account for 100,000 children. And I've been fighting against sex trafficking with my foundation for over 15 years, and have homes around the world for abandoned children and saving kids out of sex trafficking. And she doesn't want to answer the fact that she's helped create a humanitarian crisis. It's appalling how the press has handled a lot of this, and how they are able to just slide by and not get called out for more of it. But I'm hammering on issues, and that's why I think I'm now in a tied race, and the momentum's on my side.
So you guys are going to meet head-to-head for the only debate on Friday, October 18th. Early voting will have already started by then, correct?
Yeah. So I get one. Think of how absurd this is. You in the old days, how would a campaign be run? It'd be two candidates speaking to reporters and the public, answering their questions, explaining their policies and how to make the country better and improve the lives, in my case, of the people of Wisconsin. Then, we moved down to 3 or 4 debates. Typically, the debates would run for an hour and a half each debate. Now, I'm getting one debate on a Friday night. Guess what time? 7 p.m. when everybody on a Friday night is probably having a drink.
Yeah.
It's plugged in. At their fish fry, having their old fashioned, and for 1 hour. I mean, that's and early voting has already started. But this is what we're dealing with. They can't stand up and address the hard questions, whether it's Harris or Baldwin. And let's face it, they're just puppets. They're puppets of a machine. Senator Baldwin, like Kamala Harris, it's a machine that the Democrats have, and they prop him up. Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, remember, until the world came to realize he had dementia. I knew that, even before he ran, because sadly I had to care for a mother with dementia the last 10 years of her life. So, and Kamala Harris, she couldn't even be a mid-level manager in any of my companies. I'm serious. And Senator Baldwin, the same thing. They've never accomplished anything. I mean, think of Vice President Harris. She failed as being a DA in San Francisco. San Francisco's crime problems went through a complete meltdown while she was DA. Then she became Attorney General of the state of California. And you saw sanctuary cities, and then LA started to turn bad. Then she becomes a senator. She was voted the most extreme liberal senator. She never accomplished anything, just voted for all the radical stuff of the left. And then she becomes vice president. Her main job is border czar. Does anybody think she did a good job on that? And you could walk through the same thing with Senator Baldwin. Failed at literally everything.
What speaking, we were talking to Senator Mike Braun a little bit earlier in the program, and talking about small town America as border towns now in places like, I don't know, Whitewater, Wisconsin. And I wonder what the answer from Tammy Baldwin is about that, and Tony Evers for that matter, and how much that is garnering attention in Wisconsin.
They can't. She won't answer questions. She won't take questions. And if she does get questions by the press, most of them softball the questions. Look, I can tell you what's happening in Whitewater. And just by way of background, they dropped in 1,000 illegal immigrants into the city. The budget immediately went upside down. They're having significant problems in the schools. You have all these children that don't speak English, and the schools are overly packed. You're having a housing issue. You can't just take a town of 13, 14,000, add 1,000 people, and don't expect that you're going to compound whatever housing problem you have. And then you have a healthcare issue, because again, now how the hospitals and the medical providers, they don't have the infrastructure to have that kind of surge. And by the way, they're seeing a lot of different diseases or viruses that you're not typically used to seeing, and they're not equipped to handling. So it has not worked out well for Whitewater at all, and it's not working out anywhere in this country when you have this surge of illegal immigrants.
But who's they, and why did they choose Whitewater, Wisconsin?
My guess is because it's a university town. Probably it was a little bit more. The mayor was a little bit more accepting, and sometimes they just fly people in and drop them in, and sometimes it's with the acknowledgement of the town leaders. So I'm not quite sure how that ended up working, but if the mayor willingly accepted it, then shame on him. I mean, shame on him.
Is that crystallizing the issue though for Wisconsin voters? Do you think?
I think it's certainly had an impact with a lot of people. But look, we've had crime all over. Sadly, that case in Prairie du Chien, it's a small town of 5,000 people where this mother and her daughter were brutally raped for quite a long time. You've had the illegal immigrant that killed his own 2 children. You've had the illegal immigrant kidnap a 12-year-old girl, tie her up. Thank God she broke away. You've had an illegal immigrant run into drunk driving into a truck driver, a father of 3 young children, and killed him. So we've had a lot of incidences. Those are some of the bigger ones. But look, the crime problem is being felt all over. And really probably the biggest thing is the fentanyl crisis. We lost 108,000 young people last year, 112,000 the year before. Wisconsin has felt the brunt of it like every other state in the country. And those are staggering numbers. I mean, we fought the Vietnam War for 19 years, major conflict for 7.5. We lost 58,000 American young men, soldiers. And now we sit here today losing almost twice that amount every year. And has Washington done anything? Has the press been hammering this issue? No. Look, there's so many impacts of our open border. So when you look at the top issues by people in our state, it's the economy, the inflation, and the open border. All the ramifications.
Yeah, what's interesting, though? James Freeman had a write-up on you in the Wall Street Journal the other week that you've also taken up some other issues like boys playing girls sports in opposition to that. And I think that's smart, and I think sometimes conservatives don't see these opportunities because you're just supposed to focus on whatever the top 2 issues on the issue matrix and polls say they are. But these also speak to sort of core values about how society is going to be organized, about what kind of community people are going to be allowed to live in effectively. And I wonder why you picked up on that issue to profile.
It's real simple. I'm a girl dad. I have 2 daughters. And as a guy who just turned 60, when I was young, girls didn't have a lot of opportunities in sports.
Nope.
And I saw over, from the time I was young to the time my girls came about, sports bloomed for girls. And I thought it was such a wonderful thing. I thought, look, great. And my youngest daughter was named the Female Athlete of the Year in the state of Wisconsin in 2017. She was just a phenomenal athlete. And to see that now the Department of Education and the government pushing schools to require guys to play in girls' sports and to go into girls' bathrooms and locker rooms, I find it appalling. You're going to deprive girls of their sports. It's insanity. It's what I say. We've woken up in this world like I've woken up in a bad episode of the Twilight Zone, where what is right is wrong and what is wrong is right. I mean, if a guy would have tried to go into a girl's bathroom or locker room, even a decade ago, they would have been arrested. Nobody would have said boys can play in girls' sports. If they're little, under pre-puberty, then who cares? But it's once you hit puberty and guys get the surge of testosterone, they become bigger, stronger, faster, and it's totally unfair, and it's depriving girls of their sports. And then Senator Baldwin also is pushing something that I find absolutely appalling, and that's supporting a transgender clinic that's doing this without parents' notification. I mean, look, if you in your 20s or 30s want to go through that process, that's your decision. I'm kind of a libertarian. But to talk about doing that with children, I mean, Europe has totally shut that down because we know that young kids that have gone through that have some of the highest suicide rates. So Europe has absolutely shut it down because the consequences they've realized are horrible. But here in this country, we continue to push that. Look, we don't allow kids to drive until 16 or 17. We don't allow them to vote until 18. We don't allow them to drink until 21, but we're going to allow them to mutilate their body or take drugs that fundamentally mess up their hormones for the rest of their life. And there's huge physical health consequences to both of these for the rest of their lives. And we're allowing that and in some case pushing it. So as a girl dad, I just, found it appalling. And so, of course, I'm going to pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, and the National Review.
A lot of people don't like it.
National Review came out yesterday saying in less than 5 years, 14,000 minors underwent gender transition surgery.
It's insanity. I don't know what the heck. And then you have Tim Walz, who says in the state of Minnesota passed a law, if the parents are opposed to it, the child can be taken away from the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Who are they? Who are they? Who are they to tell what you can do with your own children? I mean, that is sick. So, as you can tell, I feel pretty strongly about this issue. We're harming our children. There's a big healthcare complex that are making a lot of money off of this, that have been behind a lot of the lobbying for this. So, yes, I'm very opposed to this set of issues. And we just got to stand up. And I'm also addressing things like our healthcare system. I wish more Republicans would talk about that. Remember, President Obama said, Obamacare will lower the cost of health care, provide greater access, and you'll be able to keep your family doctor. Well, what has ended up happening? Cost of health care has skyrocketed more. Access to care has absolutely collapsed, and the family doctor has all been but wiped away. So I hope Republicans pick up on a number of these issues in all these races, and because we got to take a stand.
No, I like it. I think, you remind me in terms of the way you're approaching this campaign very much like Ron Johnson, and obviously you're a successful businessman as well, like he is. And obviously that is a model that has worked in Wisconsin. So hopefully it will work for you as well. Eric Hovde, Republican nominee for Senate in Wisconsin, EricHovde.com, Hovde, EricHovde.com is the website to get involved in the final weeks of the campaign. Eric Hovde, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too, and good luck with your campaign. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking